Good morning. And yes, it is May. And yes, I am in a cable knit sweater because it's chilly. It's chilly up here in the east for May. This story came to me from Angie. And we all know Angie here at this show. She is a great friend of the show. We love her. We love her and Ron. And we know they go through a lot every day. And she shared with me this story out of Sacramento, California, of all places. California, right? When we think of California, we think of San Francisco, which was the home to gay people when they were not welcomed in their own hometowns in the Midwest and in their conservative towns. They went to California to be who they were. It was wonderful to actually finally find a place to be yourself and not have to be ashamed because of your parents' religious beliefs or your hometown or whatever was going on. But in Sacramento recently, a transgender woman, as part of transitioning from being a woman to being a man, which is how he felt he was a man. In order to do that, a hysterectomy was required. Because, of course, if you're going to live your life as a man, it would be ridiculous to be in the tampon aisle at the grocery store. You don't want your reproductive organs because you're not going to use them. Now, this is important when I say this. Because, see, this show is not just about transgender. This is about women as well. You women out there with your uteruses and your ovaries and your cervix and your fallopian tubes that doctors want you to keep at even risk to your health. This is really a good show. After I read the article, I said to Angie, my God, this is so much bigger than just being anti-gay or homophobic like the Catholic Church is. So what we're talking about is a Catholic hospital in Sacramento. And the surgeon practiced there. That was where this young woman who wanted to become a young man, this is where the surgeon had privileges. So they tried to schedule this hysterectomy, and the Catholic hospital said, not going to do it. You can't do it. Now, once again, this was a surgeon that was willing to do the surgery at the hospital where he has privileges. And that's important, and we're going to talk about that. Where your doctor actually has privileges is where you have to go. Because some of you will say, well, why go to a Catholic hospital? Well, that's why. Because your surgeon has privileges there. So I'm going to read you a few quotes because they are unbelievable in 2017. And I'm not sure what year this was, a few years ago. But some of the quotes from this hospital, this Catholic hospital, and how the Catholic Church views hysterectomies in general, or any alteration of one's reproductive organs for any reason, perhaps, which kind of brings us back to me and all women. So don't tune me out if you are watching this show and you happen to be against transgenders for some reason. This is about so much more than that. But this show stands by transgender people. We stand by all of our human brothers and sisters. And if a doctor says, this is what is required, then that should happen. It's that little thing called the Hippocratic Oath, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Because the title of the show is Hippocratic or Hypocritical. That's the title of the show. We're going to get to that. But let me just read you some quotes of how the Catholic hospitals defend their decision to refuse a hysterectomy. And if they're going to refuse it to this person as a transgender, they probably will refuse it to any healthy woman for any reason, including our good friend Angelina Jolie. But we're going to get to that too. Bear with me. It's a cliffhanger. So, okay, this is it. We believe, this is what the hospital statement said. We believe, and by the way, they're getting sued, but we believe. Now, the patient doesn't believe it, but we believe surgical intervention that alters one's sex are in fact detrimental to patients. They are not health care because they do not prevent or cure disease or illness. They reject a person's nature of birth as male or female. But it goes on. Some of you homophobes out there, or you people who don't believe in transgender, you might agree with that statement. Wait till you hear the next one. We believe that it is a mutilation to the body if you take a perfectly healthy bodily system and render it dysfunctional. That right there that I just read can apply to anybody. Anybody. It can apply to a woman who wants her tubes tied because she doesn't want children or she doesn't want any more children. It can apply to a man who wants a vasectomy because he doesn't want to become a father. Remember what I just read. Taking a perfectly healthy bodily system and rendering it dysfunctional. We believe that is mutilation. And we won't do it. That's a Catholic hospital. This is where we're going to get into the Hippocratic Oath. And the Hippocratic Oath is an oath that every doctor takes when he graduates from medical school. You know, where they learn science, where they learn how to help their patients. First, do no harm to their patients. Hippocrates, a doctor, a Greek doctor. This is where the Hippocratic Oath comes from. It doesn't come from Sunday school. It comes from medical school. And yet there are doctors in this country who practice medicine based on Sunday school instead of medical school. They force their personal religious beliefs onto their patients who may or may not share them. This story that Angie shared with me that started out as discrimination against an LGBTQ member of society turned into really a carte blanche to discriminate against women and men. I mentioned Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie had a blood test done. It was called the BRCA test, and the BRCA test said she has a cancer gene in her body. She never had cancer. And she was able to get 2 healthy breasts cut off, and she got her reproductive organs removed. Healthy reproductive organs. And nobody said a word. The reason she was able to do this was, one, she's rich, and she didn't need a health insurance company to sign off on it. And of course, a doctor saying, Angelina Jolie, yeah, you can do whatever you want, Angelina. I'll take those organs out for you. It's all fine. And plus, she already had 6 children. So, you know, it's not going to be that old adage like I got told. I will not sterilize you until you give birth to a healthy baby. This I was told by a Catholic, by the way, OBGYN, who had 7 children at the time. See, I had just almost died from being pregnant through an ectopic pregnancy. I almost died. And I told this man, I never want to be pregnant again. And I want to be sterilized. And he said, oh, no. No, I'm going to deliver a healthy baby for you one day. Oh, well, he never did, as I've told you many times. Instead, he sentenced me to 30 years on prescription birth control. That's what he did. And whether it was because he was Catholic or not, I will never know. I know that the Duggar people, these 19 and counting, that the day any woman in that family or in that religion, the Quiver religion, is told they can no longer have children, they want to lay down and die because their life is over. They're worthless unless they're birthing babies. You know, this story started out as do not discriminate against the transgender. And by the way, the good news is that they are suing this Sacramento Catholic hospital. And the better news is that the surgeon cared so much about his patient that he got emergency privileges at another hospital and did perform the hysterectomy. on this now young man, so that when he transitions to becoming a man as he believes he should be, he will not have that pesky little monthly period to deal with as a man. Like men can really even deal with it. First, do no harm, the Hippocratic oath. And then they become hypocrites. Do you know how many stories that have come across my desk of an emergency room doctor refusing to give the morning after pill to a rape victim? Because in Sunday school they told him that that was wrong. Yes, he forgot what he learned in medical school. I have heard stories of rape victims running, knocking, banging on pharmacy doors, banging on hospitals, saying, please, I don't want to be pregnant to my rapist baby. I was raped 3 hours ago. I need the morning after pill to make sure. They finally did get the morning after pill, the one woman whose story I heard. But that emergency room doctor, man, she goes in there to the first hospital she sees after being viciously raped. She begs for the morning after pill. And the doctor says, nah, you don't want to do that. You know, you've just been raped. But think about it. You could be carrying a life in your uterus. What a gift. It's a gift out of something horrible that just happened to you. Remember when I said about when an airline person says, hit me, I'll hit them? That's somebody else I would hit too. I'd slap that bastard down. Yeah, just got raped. The good news is maybe you'll have the rapist baby. Gosh, that makes me feel so much fucking better. We have pharmacists in this country who don't want to fill prescription birth control. Because in Sunday school, they were taught birth control's wrong. Never says anything about that in the Bible, by the way. Not one mention of birth control being bad. In fact, in biblical times, they used makeshift condoms because everybody was cheating on everybody else and they didn't want to get their mistresses pregnant and all that shit. Believe me, there is nothing in the Bible that says birth control is bad, but the Catholics, oh my God, no. Nope, you have a uterus, that is your job. It's your job to use it. Even if it will kill you. And that's my other story, personal. Right down the street from me, there used to be a hospital called St. Joseph's. It is no longer called that. It is now called Lancaster Regional Medical Center. But when it was St. Joseph's, it was a Catholic hospital. And women were terrified. Non-Catholic women especially were terrified. And Catholic women were scared too, because here was their rule. If you come into that hospital to give birth, you may not walk out. The woman might not walk out, the mother. Because their rule was that without even asking the family, the father, the husband, if something went wrong and they had to choose, do we save the mother or do we save the child? They always saved the child. They never asked the husband, do you want to be a single dad? Would you rather raise this thing that you've never met that just came out of your wife? Or do you want the wife that you love and cherish to survive? They never asked that. Never asked. The fact that maybe you could have more children, but you can't replace your wife that quick? Never asked that either. They just killed the woman. They let the woman die. And I actually have family members who were terrified that if they went into labor and maybe an ambulance was called, they would end up at that hospital. It's almost like they wanted to write on their wrists, save me, save me. I'm worth more to my husband than this thing in me that we never met. But that's not how they practiced their Hippocratic oath, first do no harm. They would just let the living, breathing woman that everybody loved and knew die so that this fetus, child, whatever was born that nobody knew yet, and then let everybody else deal with raising a motherless child. A single father on his own raising this child without a mother. Interesting, isn't it? And many of you will say, you know what? You don't have to choose that hospital. Well, now we've talked about healthcare in America. And let me tell you something very seriously. Health insurance companies now decide which hospitals in your hometown that you are allowed to go to. Because if you go to the wrong hospital, they won't pay the bill, even if they're supposed to. You'll be out of network. Now, there is one hospital in my hometown, and everybody knows this, that my husband and I never want to go to, and that is Lancaster General Hospital. We don't want to go there because my mother was killed there, and because my best friend was treated very badly there when she had her gallbladder out. We don't want to go to that hospital. And several years ago, when we applied for health insurance, we were pleasantly surprised that we got a lower premium because that hospital was not included. Only the Lancaster Regional Health Center was a hospital we could go to, and we were happy about that. Because while Lancaster General in Lancaster, Pennsylvania has a monopoly, most of the family practices are affiliated with LGH. Both my husband and I have family doctors and OBGYNs that do not practice at LGH. We were lucky. We did this on purpose. We wanted to go to Lancaster Regional for our care. So both of our family doctors and OBGYNs practice there. They don't practice at LGH. But once again, it's the insurance companies that make these decisions for us. Now, I don't have health insurance, so I am blessed once again. I can tattoo on my wrist right now, take me to regional in an emergency. Do not take me to LGH. I don't want to be there. My husband knows this. If he's with me and there's an emergency and I can't speak, he knows, take her to regional. Do not take her anywhere near LGH. And I will do the same for my husband. We don't want to be patients at Lancaster General Hospital for personal reasons. For bad experiences. Not that it's not a good hospital. Some people have had great experiences with this hospital. My experience have been bad, and I go by what I know. But the bottom line is you can't always choose which hospital you go to or which ER doctor you are going to see. And for them to take that Hippocratic oath and turn it around to, well, I first do no harm unless doing my job goes against what the priest said last Sunday in church or what my Sunday school teacher taught me. That should be illegal. You know, if you can't be a real doctor, if you can only be a Christian doctor or a Catholic doctor, then you should not be a doctor. If you are a pharmacist and you don't agree with the medications that you are, as part of your job, required to issue and to give to people, sell to people, if you can't do that, then you need to choose a different profession. First do no harm means that you do your damn job. If you are a priest, you preach. If you are a doctor, you provide medical care. You don't provide scripture, you don't provide biblical quotes, and you don't treat your patients like they're a parishioner. They are coming to you for science, for scientific help. If they want to be saved, they'll go to their own church. If they want to worry about their soul, they'll go to church on their own. That's their choice, not yours. Your job is to basically do your damn job. It's to be a doctor, to first do no harm, to remember your Hippocratic oath and not be a goddamn hypocrite. I shake my head because I think of the 30 years I was on birth control. I think about women who have had cysts on their ovaries or precancerous cells in their cervix and have been told by doctors, Oh, we can't do a hysterectomy. We're not going to remove that. You won't be able to have babies. We want to make sure you can have babies. Like it's all they care about. And I know there are women in this country who would rather die than never be pregnant. They would rather be pregnant and risk dying than never be pregnant. And that's their choice. I don't agree with it. My idea is my life means more than some kind of fetus I've never met. My life means more to my husband than something that's growing in my stomach that he's never met. And that if I choose, or my husband chooses, or any of us choose that we don't want that, we don't want to use our reproductive organs for whatever reason, we don't really even we shouldn't need a reason. Get them out. We don't want them. Either because we have a history of cancer in our family, we're worried, we tested positive for the gene like Angelina, or we decided that we're actually not a woman, we're a man. Or, guess what? I almost died from an ectopic pregnancy. I know I have a 60% chance if I get pregnant again of having another ectopic pregnancy. This one might kill me. I want to be sterilized. I never want to be pregnant. And this man, and a few women have also given me this excuse, these people who took this Hippocratic oath to never do any harm. Oh no, you're going to change your mind. You're a woman. You have a uterus. You're going to want to use it. Fuck them. Fuck them, and thank God for the one part of the pharmaceutical industry that I actually love, and that's birth control. Thank you, pharmaceutical company. Thank you, people who made Depo-Provera. Thank you for saving my life, possibly. Saving me from another ectopic pregnancy. Saving me and my husband from heartache. Thank you. And shame on any doctor who thinks that Sunday school is more important than medical school. And that a priest is like standing over his shoulder while he is supposed to be doing his scientific job of practicing medicine. Medicine, not voodoo, not mythology, medicine, science. You know, all those books you read in medical school, they meant something. They were supposed to mean something. They were supposed to be what you relied on to do your job. Not job, job. Your job, which is to first do no harm. Take the Hippocratic oath seriously and stop being a hypocrite. And remember that you do not force your patients to live the way you want them to live. You cannot force your patients to practice the religion that you practice on Sunday mornings and Easter and Christmas. What you learned in Sunday school might have made you the kind of person who wants to be a doctor and help people. But what you learned in medical school is the only thing I'm interested in as a patient. Political Paula, out.